Greetings from both of us. Who are we? My name is Russ Hatfield, and behind my shoulder is Kara, my higher dimensional twin soul and member of Ashtar Command on Hades base. This special editorial from us is to help make sure those wishing to ascend dimensions knows what that entails. The Society of Higher Dimensional Series could be called a benevolent autocracy where everyone wants to do the best for everyone else, from leadership on down. What we try to get across to the listener is how to get there, how to stay there, and what to expect once there. For a full transcript of this latest editorial, please go to our main homepage at hadesbasenews.com. We invite you to subscribe to be kept informed of future postings on our YouTube channel from the members of Ashtar Command. And now, from the two of us for the month of June, we present Checklist for Ascension. What is life like post-ascension? Why work so hard on a goal so tenuous? What is the point of living a life of love and light, fighting against the darkness, often alone with no one among your friends and family in support of your goals and ambitions spiritually? Knowing would certainly give the effort more impetus and establish hope that all the development gained over thousands of lifetimes led to a worthwhile goal. Well, with Kara's help, we will try to express the life lived on one dimension to those living on another. For anyone just meeting us, I am the third dimensional half of this writing team, while Kara is the half already on a higher dimensional base of Ashtar Commands that is helping the human race not only get to her dimension, but be able to stay there once ascended. That is what this editorial is for, to help prepare those on an ascension path of what should be expected after reincarnation no longer takes place on this dimension. We will go over what life is like on Sirius, as well as examples of those speakers in the archives we know that have already made the transition. Finally, we will offer our version of a checklist of things to consider if ascension is a serious goal. It won't be an end-all to how to change dimensions, since there are infinite ways to reach the same place, and instead, we'll present some of the information collected from the archives to better prepare anyone wanting a life that values mental achievements and higher conscious living. First off, there are no strangers on the higher dimensions. Knowing the shared past lives of someone upon meeting them makes for any meeting a reunion. That is one of the reasons why there is no need for money, laws, wars, or bias of any kind. Another is that it is a society of telepaths who share their thoughts while also able to see the auras of anyone, so therefore being deceptive is pointless in a society hundreds of thousands of years in its development that has plenty of time needed to get it right. Then there are the lifespans of up to 1,000 years that allow for plenty of time to take advantage of all that freedom from the stress of the third dimension. When old age starts to set in at 300, and the body is starting to feel the centuries, it gets rejuvenated back to a body in their 20s, then to do it again at 600. This may sound like paradise, but paradise has a price. To achieve the freedom of a higher dimension means giving up some of the freedoms of the third dimension. We'll explore those further in the final paragraph while getting more into the benefits of living in a more regimented society. Most everyone in that society has one or more mental abilities that carry with it moral and society responsibilities. Ascension from one dimension to the next leads to another set of lives, with these ones dedicated to helping others achieve their ascension goals. That help may even include being a member of Ashtar Command, stationed on a base on a planet near Earth called Mars, where you were a former healer, but are now an ambassador to your home planet helping to write these words. An obvious question right off the bat is, how can someone in the third dimension live up to the lofty standards described? The answer comes in the form of two speakers found in the archives of the channeling sessions of the Hades Base News. Kiri is a regular speaker channeling through Mark Crocker, and Laika could only channel when away from classes at the Syrian State University. Both are experiencing their first life on a higher dimension after having lives both memorable for them and those interested in the history of the Earth. Kiri's prior life before ascending was Haseftuth, one of the few female pharaohs of ancient Egypt who came to the throne with the death of Thutmose II. Like her is younger than Curie, which explains the fact that her past life here in the third dimension was that of General George S. Patton. All of this was revealed in our channeling session posted in February of this year, which begs the question, how can two individuals we know so well in our history books and are responsible for the deaths of perhaps thousands find themselves in a higher dimension? Obviously, they had learned nearly enough to ascend and just needed these lessons of those final lives to complete the transition. But what stands out that both had in common? That would take an entirely separate editorial, though what jumps out immediately is the regimented order both individuals lived with daily. Upon waking, their day was essentially already arranged with their input, really only the major deciding factors. Both had many under their command, which were their responsibility. Both seemed to create new karma for themselves, and both helped tens of thousands through their ideals. Presumably, their negative and positive karmic actions canceled each other out, and nothing more was needed. How do you squeeze hours of recorded channelings about life on a higher dimension into a single paragraph? Instead, we'll describe how a society functions differently than a world we know and understand. The overview may provide a clearer view of how you would live once ascended. Education starts prior to birth when past lives, mental abilities, and gender are all determined ahead of time. On Sirius, for example, a career path is established based on those skills, where someone strong in healing would be a healer throughout their life, though there are exceptions. A person can be a student for as long as they like, or take their profession right out of the university, which is also optional. There isn't a cost for anything, and there isn't a paycheck. Service to others, or Sirius itself, and trading with others takes the place of currency. Knowing the past lives of your own and others you meet, plus telepathy, are key differences with life on this dimension. The primary motivating forces that makes everything run so smoothly is that everyone on their dimension has thousands of lifetimes on ours, and knows the difference well. Acting against society is really acting against yourself. The driving force is to one's home on Sirius, as we hear from Kara in this month's channeling session, even if that means keeping the oaths that Sirius has made with planets in the third dimension to assist in their ascension progression. The risk of death and the chance to be reincarnated on the third dimension again is always a factor in that enlistment in the Syrian Defense Force, but the possibility of dying on a different dimension is worth the risk. Sirius has several continents, along with a single president and representative council to oversee planetary and extraplanetary affairs. If you can check off that you are good with all of the above, then you are well on your way to being a member of just such a society. It will be our eventual future, and planning for it now also makes our planet a better place in the meantime. In love, light, and wisdom as one, Russ and Kara.